Talking harness racing, not directly, indirectly, we're going to be talking harness racing. We're at the Norwood Football Oval, and with me is the CEO, James Fantasia. James, welcome to mobilerolling.net.
Jimmy, great to be here. Who would have thought you'd be broadcasting out of the Norwood Football Club here at Cooper Stadium?
Yeah, well, it's something different. And look, we've got a game in the background, which we might be able to, we won't pick it up with our cameras, but always footy here. Now, I've got to say, I thought about I suppose, the connection of harness racing to the Norwood Footy Club. And I've got a fairly close connection. There's two names in particular that stand to mind. And one is the surname is the same as our Christian name, James, and also Seacamp as well. Now, these people are involved in harness racing.
Of course.
And look, I go back, and talking about myself, we should be talking about you, but I go back 35 years ago. I drove a winner for Adrian James, who's the father of Brett, Roger and Paul, who I believe all three played here for the Norwood Footy Club.
Correct, yes. One's captain and premiership players as well. So they're very synonymous with the Norwood Football Club, Kersbrook boys.
Yep.
And of course, you mentioned Rodney Seacamp, of course, and Rodney recently passed, unfortunately. And even, look, we made it was a great contribution at the celebration of his passing, where we went through his whole history, and obviously he was such a great footballer.
Yes.
And I think it was a bit of a surprise for us all to see how much it achieved in the harness racing, and it was certainly a passion of the Seacamp family, and Ben Seacamp, the nephew's now on our board.
Yeah.
So there's still that connection. But we've had other guys too. I'd run through some names: Darren Ridings and Charlie Silks.
Yes.
Charlie's been around the club and many clubs for many years, and there's always just been a connection somewhere. I mean, football clubs have got great networks, and they're always pretty closely related to the three racing areas. So I think this is no different.
Yeah. The horse that I drove for Adrian James was a horse called Red Passion, and I didn't know at the time because I didn't speak with Adrian enough, I suppose. So I'm assuming he was a Norwood supporter because all three of his boys played here for Norwood, and the colours that I drove in were blue with a red star.
Yeah, I think they're as red and blue as you're going to get it, Jimmy. They just great people, and they came through the whole system here because that was part of the Norwood district, of course. So the boys were young and came through the development squads and progressed, and obviously with Brett going on to AFL footy, played at Collingwood and then at the Crows in the premierships.
Yeah.
And of course Roger James, who went on to be part of the first premiership side for Port Adelaide.
Yeah.
I'm certain both have won best and fairest here, and I'm certain that Brett's captained the club. So they're just a great family, and as I said, the name's synonymous with us and certainly Kersbrook.
Obviously, premierships are the ultimate for any football club. I think Brett and Roger played in the 97 grand final where they won and they beat Port Adelaide, quite fittingly, I suppose, for Roger. Roger went that way, but Brett stayed with the team.
Yeah. And the week earlier he played in the Crows premiership.
Is that right? Yeah.
So it was one of those unusual situations where he played in two grand finals and two premierships in 2 weeks. Yeah. One in the AFL, one in the SNFL.
Yeah.
So
fantastic year for him, 97.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many other synergies. I think when my background was in recruiting. Certainly for a long time I was recruiting manager at the Crows through that period. And I will tell you, it's slightly different, but I actually got a horse trainer to come in and talk to my selection. Well, Craigie we certainly work with. But it was just another way to kind of try and say, how do people spot a good horse, for example? Yeah. Is it the front quarters, the back quarters, is it the evenness, is it their girth, and it was just kind of fascinating to just have that a different insight and how you would go about looking at those things. And look, and of course when you talk about the commitment to training, what's required there, and I'm certain that you mentioned Craigie. Well, obviously, Mike Noon and Neil Craig at at their in a period of their careers were both heavily focused in the horse training and using GPS and heart rates and all kinds of things. It was pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I had a good connection there with Craig also with cycling when I was commentating cycling in the Tour Down Under. He was mixed up there with Mike Turner and Charlie Walsh and the Australian Institute of Sport and working on heart rate monitors and so forth. But yeah, it's a small world. But even the other name that we spoke about, Rod Seacamp, I mean, he was a premiership player as well. I think he was 75.
Yeah, 75.
Knocked off Glenelg, I reckon.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know if you recall the story, but that particular week, which is pretty unusual in South Australia, where the grand final was being played, and Norwood, Rodney, and Norwood was a good side, and I think by memory, I just can't remember that they came into the side, but they were probably the underdogs in the end. But Rodney had got a death threat.
Really?
Yeah, and none of us knew at the time, but apparently the police had been following him around because they were quite concerned about it.
Yeah.
It was later divulged. So, he obviously was having an impact, because if someone wants to offer him a death threat, it's pretty ridiculous, isn't it?
He's a genuine bloke, because I think he got best on ground for that.
He did. He actually did. Yeah. It wouldn't even, he wouldn't even give it a second thought.
Yeah.
It was quite unusual.
Yeah.
But yeah, it goes to show that some misplaced passion sometimes is not always that good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, you yourself, what about you and the Norwood Footy Club? Where does it start for James Fantasia?
Yeah. Look, my background and the history with the club is like many Norwood families. I mean, I started coming to this ground probably as a 4-year-old with my father, who would, he'd go and stand on the wing, and my brother and I would say, "Righto, boys, go and enjoy yourselves." And you could be a big away just about for the whole day around the ovals, collecting bottles, having kicks of the footy, and so it was a very early association. And look, just through good fortune, I played through all the junior grades. Was lucky enough to play league football, and had a bit of an irony there, because I did leave for a couple of years and went to Woodville, but I did come back, and I ended up working with the club. It was my first introduction to sports administration. Wally Miller was the CEO at the time, and it was a great introduction, and I was able to forge a, what is it now, 35-year career out of, which has led to being the development manager here at the Norwood Football Club, working at the SANFL as their state development director. Later, I went there twice actually, and was the general manager of game development.
Yep.
And then had 12 years with the Crows as their recruiting manager.
Yeah.
And then moved to Western Bulldogs as the general manager of football. It was a slightly different role. And then to Hawthorn as well. Yeah. And then I found myself back here at Norwood, where it all started.
Like a boomerang, you just keep coming.
So it's just that, it's that full circle. And I got to say, it's just a great, it's a wonderful privilege to be back. And I, as I said, the association, the SANFL is a challenge. But it's a great competition, and we got a great product, and I'm very excited about it. And we've recently, as you're seeing now, we've recently been involved in virtually a $12 million redevelopment of the venue, and it includes a function centre that we're very proud of, the Wolf Blass Community Centre, and the great man Wolf Blass himself has put in $1 million towards the project.
Oh, fantastic.
And well supported by other agencies and the Cooper family as well.
Yeah.
They've been incredibly supportive, and that's been a real new chapter for the club. So it's something to be very excited about. Yeah. And I just find when you get to our age a little bit, you end up being a little bit of the conduit from the history and the past of the club, and trying to pass that down to to the next generation. Yeah. And I feel very privileged to have that, some of those experiences.
Yeah, for sure. Now, CEO, I mean, you're getting close to nearly 5 years now as CEO here.
Yeah, getting close to that. Yeah.
How are you enjoying that part of it?
I'm loving it. I love the challenge of it. I love that, in a difficult time, there's a group of people that have really rallied, and you need, you know what it's like. You just need people to get supportive. And we actually ran what we called a Fortis Infracella campaign this year. It's our slogan, and it has been since the club's inception back in 1878.
Okay.
And it's Latin for strength in adversity.
Yep.
And we haven't, look, it's always been there, but it's not something we've rolled out a lot. And obviously through this last little very challenging period with the coronavirus and the pandemic and the slowdown of everything. We ran a campaign, Fortis in Priscilla, and our Norwood community got right behind it. And we, look, I don't mind saying that we sold over $200,000 of merchandise, and it just got to show you how important that support is, and I think that's what Norwood, it has that intrinsic and a great brand, and when I say intrinsic, people are quite loyal to it, and they have great memories and great associations. So I'm no different, and as I said, I feel very privileged to be able to drive that and help cultivate that over the next period.
Yeah. So you're always thinking of your members, because you know your members are loyal supporters, and this is where we've really come to have the interview with you, because Maxwell, our executive producer of mobilerolling.net, has told me that Jakesy, Norwood Footy Club have been trying to do something out at Globe Derby for a while. COVID sort of stopped that, but you want to do something out at the trots and promote the sports joining together and being
Definitely
part of each other.
Yeah, very much so. And you know what Max is like. He's when he's onto an idea, and look, to his credit, we've been talking about this for some time, and this would have been the year that we were really genuinely wanted to jump in, and then we got hit with the coronavirus. But we've had plans for the last few years. But what we see is two things. One, we love that industry.
Yes.
It's a great sport in its own right, and for our people, it's another chance to engage. We can make it a real red and blue night. You can have races, and after the champions of the club, excuse me, we can partner with a lot of our existing people that love that industry as well. So I just see it as a natural way for us to offer something to our members. As a kid, I just love going out to Globe Derby, and it was, I talk about coming to the footy with my father. Going with my parents as a young kid to Globe Derby to the trots was a big night, and how much fun you can have, and I'd love to be able to offer that as another link. And the truth is, anything to do with sport, health, and education, they're the areas we want to kind of embrace. Certainly as a club and venue for our members, and that can take us to a whole lot of different synergies.
Yeah. I know that Max has said that the proposition has been put forward to Globe Derby, but it hasn't really rolled on as quick as what he would have liked, and this was pre-COVID, and now that COVID's in, so the idea is you still want to do this. I mean, there's been a bit of a setback. It probably should have been happening now, but you're still happy to go ahead and do this?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of it, it comes down to us trying to support the industry as well. And look, they may have some. It depends on the quality of the facility that what we can offer.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, there's lots of different levels, and how good would it be if we could get a group of members out here and get 4 or 5 buses and take them up there, and just have our own night, so to speak. And but anyway, we'll work our way through it, and I'm sure that there will be a great opportunity. Just as we'd love to embrace, the harness industry and its people, and provide them an opportunity to reintroduce them to the local footy.
Yeah, maybe reciprocate.
Absolutely. Yeah. You come down here on a Friday night. Wow, it's a great night's entertainment, and obviously we've got the facilities now to host those type of things. So look, and we understand too as an industry how challenging it is for everyone, and this is just another great way of lending support, getting behind great institutions, and that's what we're trying to do as well.
Something I tried to put to Harness Racing SA 20 odd years ago, because I believe syndications are a big thing as far as horse ownership, and I wanted to go to sporting clubs like the Norwood or whatever sporting club, and then their members could become part of a syndicate of a horse to race at Globe Derby.
Absolutely.
The driver could be wearing those club colours, so the Norwood colours could be out there. Maybe Adrian James could let us use his colours, similar colours, but the design of the Norwood Footy Club, and that's something that could happen, where you could get members involved in ownership of a horse, that a certain trainer would look after the horse and train the horse for you, and then go out there and you know what colours are out there in the race, and that's something that I've tried to push a long time ago. But maybe you've got a bit more push than me, James, to get it going.
Well, it just makes sense to me
Yeah.
that those things can happen, and because there's such an opportunity for both groups to have a win from those those joint ventures, if you like. And as I said, I'm very conscious of these times and how difficult they are, and I think wherever we can work together, provide a great experience for people, give them a bit of joy. People love to get behind and support them.
Yeah.
And this is no different.
All about providing a bit of fun for everyone, isn't it, James?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't mind the idea of us getting the silks out here in a cart, maybe doing a couple of laps of the
A
oval.
couple of horses there.
Yeah, that'd be a bit of fun as well. And who knows, we could use some fertilising out there, so that's not a bad thing as well.
Hey, James, great to have you on Mobile Rolling. Great to be with
Thanks,
you.
Jim.
And with the Norwood Footy Club, what can you tell the harness people about the Norwood Footy Club? How can they join, become members here?
Yeah, look, thank you. We're a member-based organisation, and look, there's different types of categories that you can get involved in. I certainly highly recommend the home match membership because it gets you along to home games, and it's a really special venue. We do a lot of night games here.
Yeah.
So after work on a Friday night, it's quite a good night to enjoy, and then you've got the parade. The parade itself, it's a beautiful location. We're very, very fortunate like that.
With restaurants and
you get spoilt for choice. So people are often, I'll tell you funny, Jim, what happens on a Friday night at 7:40 start.
Yeah.
We'll have 1,500 people in here at 7:25, and by 7:35 we've got 3,500 to 4,000. They've all come out of the restaurants and the bars, and they make their way in that last minute. So, and then post game, if obviously we've got our facility now, but you've got choice after as well, and I think people quite enjoy it. Yeah.
There you go. Norwood Footy Club. James Fantasia, the CEO of the Norwood Football Club. Come out here and see James, and he'll give you a point in the right direction how to get involved. Thanks, James.
Thanks, Jim. Great to see you.